Have you played or seen someone play Vampire Survivors? If Overwatch is what created a genre or clones uh, that now belong into the category of hero shooter, one could label Vampire Survivors as the progenitor of a arcade roguelike, because I think that's a fair assessment to make. It does feel like games where you slot a coin and play until you lose. So what is this game about? It's rather simple. It's working on the same principle of pick a character, pick a map, pick a difficulty, earn coins, XP, and level up talents, unlock things as you play. And there's a few other things where there's racial traits. You can upgrade those, and then you can upgrade glyphs. You have pets, you can level up the pets, they give you specific bonuses, and it seems like at level 3 you unlock all bonuses they have to offer. Now, initially, I didn't know what kind of game it was, because the Steam description is rather plain. And that description was copy-pasted to keymailer, which is where I got the game from. If I just open it, there's a image. Bosses 30 out of question mark, weapons 30 out of question marks. And it's like, sure, I could have seen that on Steam, but I was hoping that it would say on the keymailer page what kind of game it is. And it didn't, so I was surprised that it's as I said, a Vampire Survivor type of game. An arcade roguelike is what I would call it. But once I got into it, it's not bad. I never got into Vampire Survivors because I didn't like the visuals. I know that's not what the game excels in. It's the gameplay and the simplicity of it, and the fact that if one person can make that, then how can AAA be failing for so many years? Well, so many. It's like 10 years, 11 years now. Failing to make a good game despite all the money and talent that they have available. And this game takes that and turns it up to 11, I think. Because visually, it manages to achieve several things. So I'm gonna pick this guy. You unlock him by killing Death. And let's pick the first map. There we go. And I think that this game turns up the Vampire Survivors type of gameplay to 11. Because, first of all, it manages to achieve visual clarity even if there's a whole ton of visual effects on screen. I can always see, at all times, where my character is. It also has the difficulty modifiers. I'm going to have to focus for a bit just to pick... There. It also has the difficulty modifiers that you can also turn up to 11, for a lack of a better term, at the moment. And then it has the... Oh, I'll have to turn up the music. It's loud in the menu, not so loud in here. Hold on. Might as well turn up the general. Okay, this is still pretty quiet. I don't know why the menu is so loud. There we go. So this game has a lot more progression and unlockables than Vampire Survivors did. Last I saw it anyway. And, visually it's appealing. It's simple, but it's very detailed. The enemies, again, simple but very detailed. There's a lot of attention to detail. And it's simple, but it looks good. Just, Vampire Survivors is also simple. Looks okay, but I wouldn't call it good. That said, from the looks of it, there's a whole, not a studio, but a whole group. I think it's more than one person working on this game. Maybe more than 2 or 3 even. And they keep updating the game. So last I played, there was no minimap and that was going to be one of my complaints, in that this game already has a lot of what makes a good game, in my opinion. It looks good, it achieves what I would expect from a arcade roguelike, visual clarity, simplicity of gameplay, but giving you just enough unlocks that you want to play again. You know, not at a slow rate, because that's what the industry is building on. It looks like, you know, hay on every corner, time gates, slowing down the progression so that you have to buy boosters like in Assassin's Creed and whatever. There's none of that in here. Now, it's embarrassing to point out the things that once used to be a given, because the developers and publishers wouldn't dare do that, but hey. Still, this is a €4 game that manages to get those things right, and aside from what I would call product basics, or what I would want to expect to be common sense in every game, frankly, it also has good progression, design, you know, there's visual clarity, and you can customize the gameplay quite a lot. There isn't... I don't think there is enough customization yet, because as you could see in the menu at the start, each character has 3 passives to pick from, and then these passives have a modifying passive, so like a glyph is what it's called. And they do drastically change the gameplay. So this black hole that you can see right now, it happens whenever I kill 300 enemies, and when it does, the damage is mediocre initially, but you can upgrade it to nearly insta-kill everything, except for bosses. And when you do, whenever the black hole kills 100 enemies, you get max HP. So even though I have 397 health now, when I first started the game, I had 100 max health. And the game starts you off with a... it's a basic character, but it does the job really well, because he has lifesteal. If you don't pick the lifesteal, you get a dash, which allows you to quickly get out of hazardous situations that you may put yourself into, because this isn't crossable. You know, this is a pond, if you will, and you can't cross it. Now, there are seasons, there's day and night, and even when the map freezes, you can't walk over the ponds, so it's a bit tricky, but... you know, even if there's things that the game doesn't tell you, there's no tutorial, none that I would know of. I initially was puzzled and annoyed a bit, because the game didn't tell me. It's like... games that do this, there is some level of fun that can be had, and it varies on whether you do it or do not enjoy that type of thing, of course. But games like Risk of Rain, Hotline Miami, you know, that type of game, they don't tell you much. Oftentimes they don't tell you anything aside from the basic controls. Now, granted, Risk of Rain has a wiki, in-game wiki, where once you acquire an item, you can read about it, but in the game there's no way for you to find out what it actually does. So you find out only after the fact, and, you know, in games, it can be a benefit, and it can be also to their detriment. It's like, have you ever played Hotline Miami? I have, and until I heard about it, I never knew, I never found out that the only weapon that kills, the only melee weapon that kills when thrown, has a 75% chance to kill is the knife. Now, of course, it would make sense, you know, it's sharp, unlike throwing a pipe or something. But why wouldn't throwing a pipe kill someone? It's like, you know, it's these little things. It's not that it would have made my playthrough of the game different, but if I knew that when I acquired the game, or like if it was one of the few things that the game told you, it would have been nicer. But back to the point. This game doesn't have a tutorial. Not one that I would be aware of, so I don't... It's possible that it's in somewhere, but I'm not... I think I looked, and I didn't find one. That said, accidentally, once upon a time, I was mousing over things on my screen, and I found out. Eventually, I combined... Okay, I found out that you can combine items. Not a surprise, after all. It's just like Vampire Survivors, but I was wondering what did I get? What combination of items that allowed me to get a fusion item? And I had no idea because it doesn't tell you, oh, you fused this and that. So I was mousing over and I eventually found out you have to mouse over the things in the top left. And it's nicer that you can do it while playing. You don't have to memorize it like last time I saw someone play Vampire Survivors. That was 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago. You had to memorize. You had to Google, you had to go to a wiki or something and see, oh, to get this, you have to get that and that. It's like, there were some combos with garlic, whatever else, Bible, the whip, death whip that heals on crit and whatever. This is done much nicer in here. And there have been other, as I'm sure you will be aware of if you're watching this video and if you know Vampire Survivors and the whole arcade roguelike. That's what I would call it. So there's a whole array of clones that have been made since then. Kriparian, a Hearthstone streamer, has played at least one of these, and it looked bad. There was no visual clarity to speak of, first off, and second off, it was utterly broken. There was no balance. And here, even if you do manage to achieve a broken build, eventually the difficulty will put a lot of pressure onto the build. So, you know, I'm currently playing on difficulty 4. I'm having an easy time, that's because I maxed everything, but there is a ceiling. You know, I've hit the ceiling. Further difficulty selections, further increasing the difficulty, I have no way to account for that by upgrading my character. It's already maxed, so, you know, that will require other ways of coming up with a creative solution or thinking about the builds. So back to why I mentioned the streamer, Kriparian. He played a clone that had no visual clarity to speak of, and it was utterly broken. This game has balance. It's balanced well, I would say. It has visual clarity. And the only thing I would point out as something I wish was different is... Well, first off, I'm not a arcade roguelike player. It's just not my type of game. I never played Vampire Survivors, it's not something that appeals to me, and had I known that this game was also of that sort, I probably would have avoided it. However, the game's nice, but it's not something that I expect to play a whole lot more of. I think that I've experienced most of, if not everything, the game has to offer. I've unlocked 2 out of the 3 maps. If I beat this difficulty, I think the final map unlocks. And the game is in alpha, they're adding things, so as I said, last time I played there wasn't a minimap, now there supposedly is, but you have to get an achievement for it. I would prefer if the map was a standard, because aside from the day-night cycle and seasons, and the seasons spawn different or extra enemies based on the map that you're in. Seasons, Where was I? I wanted to speak about something. Based on the map you're in. I've lost my trail of thought. Well, either way, maybe I'll remember later. Game's nice, but not my type. Oh yeah, right. I wish that the map was a standard. Because you have these shrines, they have different effects. One creates an impenetrable dome, another creates this shockwave with an interval. It doesn't knock back to death, so don't try and delay death. It's, as far as I'm aware, you can't. And there are NPCs. Now, I've only found 2, and I only noticed one of them. I didn't know I found the other. The first one that I found is a rather valuable highest or second highest rarity vendor. He sells you one item for 5000 XP, which is the purple, and you start earning purple when it's nighttime. Purple is XP. You need XP. If you don't earn XP, you don't get to upgrade talents, you don't get to unlock new things and whatever. You only get to upgrade what you already have with gold. And you're gonna, so you can buy highest or second highest rarity items from the NPC. However, if you have full inventory, like I do now, I have no more slots, I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, then you get a different set of items you can buy. You can buy potions, they do not take up a slot. They are weaker than the item, but they're better in that they're cheaper and they have a synergistic effect with more items than the one you could buy. Now, after you buy one thing, he disappears, so, you know, it's one or the other. Oh yeah, there we go, nighttime. Now, one thing... So, as you can see, I'm getting XP, it's the purple crystals. There's one perk, it's called Greed. You've seen me pick it a few times. Why do I have average touch? That's garbage. Oh well. Greed affects gold, the amount of gold you get from the coin pickups. I think also the amount of XP you get from XP pickups and the amount of... oh right. Regular XP, blue for your character, and then purple for your progression. Greed affects both blue and purple, as far as I'm aware. What are the red ones for? These red stones or eggs? I have no idea. Night shards also don't seem to be anything. I farmed a lot of them and didn't get anything, didn't get any amount of them in the menu, nothing to spend them on, so... It's nice that I can play this with one hand. I just have my head in my other hand. The head on my neck, in case someone thought that was an innuendo. It's nice in that I can focus more on thinking and making nuanced points. And don't have to focus much on the gameplay because I achieved a state where I have a broken build. I just stack health indefinitely until death arrives. I kill death, I win the level and difficulty, and then I move on. But as with all games, once you find the broken build and the game doesn't challenge you more, which this game does with higher difficulty, but you know, eventually I'm gonna hit a ceiling where I won't be able to progress unless the game is somehow patched or I drastically improve. And I lost my train of thought again. Alright, it's nice that I don't have to focus on the game as much. This is a sort of a stream game. But that's not what I wanted to say. Oh, guess I'm gonna... Oh, you're right. If there's anything I would point out it's that there's a really good foundation for a, I think, better than the original clone for Vampire Survivors. Or of Vampire Survivors, but it depends on which direction is the game gonna go, like with many things. The developer and publisher on this game are the same entity, Pixaralia, or something. I think it's Pixaralia. So it looks like it's the devs who have absolute control in which way does the game go. But if there's anything I would point out as I wish it was better, it's the amount of customization and content the game has. Like, considering this game is €4 and I spent 8 hours on it, not bad. Not bad. It's simple. It avoids all the pitfalls of an arcade roguelike, so bad visual clarity, bad progression, obnoxious difficulty scaling, and even if it does fall into the pitfall of no information for you, you can still, like, if you are intuitive, you can easily find out the fusion combinations, yeah? So even there, it performs better than average. But I do wish it had more characters or more something, because it's a matter of, I think now, at this point, for me, it comes down to how much was I expecting to get out of a €4 game? You know, how much playtime? Like, 8 hours for €4, and the end conclusion of this is a good game, it's just not something I would want to play. I think that means that the game is better than average, way better than average, because I, someone who doesn't play these, found it fun. Whether it will keep being fun, and which direction it's gonna go, that's another question entirely. Now, I think I've run out of regular things to talk about, so from here on out, it's a wild west of things I will want to... things that will just come onto my mind, or things that are not necessarily related to the game itself. It's more like related to what I think is related to the game, and I think that what is related to the game is not to too large of an extent, but to rag on games industry a little more, or maybe a lot more. One thing that I do think is one of the core problems that the AAA, and by that extent many others, so AA and single A, and the only one who avoids it most of the time is indie and a bit of independent, so independence can be between single and AA. Sorry, I yawned again. I'm just tired. What I do think is one of the worst pitfalls that the industry has, and many have fallen to it, many of the largest publishers. Oh, hey, there's the NPC. Let's buy a potion because I already have full inventory slots. Oh yeah, it costs kills, hunter points. Health regen, cooldown reduction, and crit chance. Give me crit chance. I'm gonna murder death like never before. With a snowball launcher. This does stupid amounts of damage. If you've seen the numbers like 2,400 and whatever, that's the snowball launcher gun. Oh, whoops. Dash away. Okay, I'm gonna shoot it with the snowball and see how it's gonna die in a flash. Oh, one thing that this game has is auto-aim. I don't know if Vampire Survivors has that. Phew. 7,000 almost. I didn't fuse anything, really? Oh well. So, this game has auto-aim. I've had it on the entire time, that's why I could play with one hand. But if I wanted to, I can turn it off, and then the snowball launcher and everything else is going to shoot where I'm pointing. But auto-aim has been pretty good so far, hasn't failed me a single time, and even if it does, you can just dash past things. Right. That was still related to the game, but now to the unrelated. What I think is the largest pitfall the industry has fallen into is politics. Politics, ideologies, and polarization. What do I mean by that? Simply put, feminism, social justice, gender inequality, blah 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 blah, you name it, it's probably been put into AAA games, and by that extent also appeared in some AA games, and it's less about how much damage does it cost to an individual product, because you can always avoid a game if you don't like what it's about or characters that it has and whatever, but it's more so, you know, less about that and more so about how does it affect other games in a given franchise, in a given genre, because then it creates pressure where publishers are suddenly looking for games of this sort, with this type of content, with political or ideological or whatever content, and if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to put that in your game, well, tough luck, we're not publishing you. Go somewhere else. I don't have any proof of this being the case, but I do think that when the largest company in a given genre, and I say genre, not industry, because, you know, biggest RTS publisher, formerly Blizzard, releases an RTS, it doesn't necessarily affect the trends of first-person shooters. So I do think and believe that if the largest publisher in a genre releases a product, it sets a trend. That used to be the case. Now it's more like one publisher across all genres sets trends and others follow them. But that is beside the point. So, the point is, I think that this game avoids pitfalls, like many indie games do, of pushing politics, ideologies, and whatever else onto the player, and making them an incremental part of the gameplay. As a matter of fact, oh hey, there's Death. As a matter of fact, I'm not aware of any ideological or, you know, none of the... Holy, things are refusing to die now. Oh, nope, never mind. There's no... It's dumb to be talking about this in a $4 or €4 Vampire Survivors clone Steam game. I know, but I think it is important because if the largest fails, or if AAA fails, you can go to double or single A. If that fails, you can go to indie. And that's where many people have been going to, indies, because, oh hey, I killed Death. Lol. Long story short, this game just looks like a good game. It plays like it feels like it. And it's not afraid to put forth attractive female... Okay, this is loud again. I'm just gonna mute the game. It's not afraid to put forth attractive female characters, which you can clearly tell are females. There's no they, them, there's no whatever else, and I like that. So, you know, that's about it. The game's nice. If you like Vampire Survivors, you'll probably like this one. It's really good. There's a lot to unlock. They're updating the game, adding more content, and if you want to copy what I used, then just do this. You can take a screenshot or pause the video. It's really simple. There's a chance to summon ghosts that cast flame strikes. Extra damage to enemies below 50%, which combined with the passive or racial trait of demons means I do 90% extra damage to enemies below half, which is really good for boss killing. and a whole bunch of other things, like whenever an ally enters, you get stacks, or you gain points of protection. It's like a shield. Movement speed upon kill, XP, health per 1000 kills, and it just stacks really well. I've played the other characters as well, actually. How long is the video so far? 30 minutes. Okay, let's show some other gameplay. Let's upgrade this. Oh, I didn't unlock it. Oh, I didn't play on... Okay. Yeah, let's play this other map. This is the character that I played with first. You could see my health going from 210 to 350. And it's alright as a game. Oh hey, I maxed out my sword already. Whoa. One thing that I would point out, I should have taken the water. Oh well. One thing that I would point out is the timers are broken. It says that this character uses transfusion every 40 seconds. He uses it every 4 seconds. Wait, does he? 1, 2... Okay, it's every 20 seconds. When I played the last version, the previous version before the update, today's update may I add, the transfusion, the AoE lifesteal, activated every 4 seconds. And it said it was supposed to be every 40 seconds, so... Yeah. So this is the second map. There's different enemies, they're tougher. What else is there to say? Game's alright, doesn't have any politics as far as I'm aware. It's done by an indie publisher developer. If you like Vampire Survivors, right. I think it's of high quality. I think that's all from me on this game. As I said, I think I experienced near everything the game has to offer in its current state. And again, it's not something I would play. But that's because I'm not a fan of this genre. So, that's it. I'll see you in the next time. In the next one. Next one might be StarCraft, might be Age of Empires 3, and it also might be Hunt Showdown. Apparently I didn't know until 2 weeks ago that I received an email April last year that I was offered a Hunt Showdown key. Never redeemed it. It's not in my available keys, so it could have been a scam email. But Hunt Showdown is available for key distribution on keymailer, so I'm gonna ask for one and see if I get it. In that case, however, I have nobody to play with, so I don't want to request a key for a game that I may not end up playing or recording anything for. So it's like, play solo. I've watched people play the game. It looks rather frustrating if you play against pre-made people who are using Discord and whatever, so either way, see you in the next one.